so when we write the equation of piecewise, you write it by trying to find the equation of both pieces. Okay? So I'm just going to start separately and look at each piece separately. It doesn't matter which one you do first. It doesn't matter which one comes first, just as long as you have both of them. Okay? I'm going to start on the left, so I'm going to use this one. And I'm thinking about y equals mx plus b. And you just write f of x, and then you're just going to write two different answers. Okay? So if I think about this graph here, first of all, the y-intercept is going to be right there where that open circle is. So the y-intercept's at 1. Okay, from that point, you go up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1. So the slope is 2, but it's coming down. So the slope is negative 2. So y equals mx, so mx plus b. B is 1. Even though it doesn't actually cross the x-axis, that's where it would cross the x-axis. So it's still plus 1. Alright, and then we find the equation of the other piece. The slope's 0, and it comes up here at 2, so it's like 0x plus 2, or just 2. Alright, the next part is to figure out where each part of it is included. Okay? It might help you to draw a line down the middle of it where it changes. Okay, this one changes at 0. So I know there's going to be an x and a 0 on both pieces. One of them is going to be less and one of them is going to be greater. Okay? If you think about that place where it changes, to the left of it is less, and to the right of it is greater. This is always less, this is always greater. So when I'm looking at this line right here, which we found out was negative 2x plus 1, I know that's going to be less. And when I look at the 2 one, I know that's going to be greater. The one that has the equals is the one where the closed circle is, and that's on the 2. And then you have the equals right there. Alright, on number 2, so this is the place where it changes. So I'm thinking about those two pieces on either side of that line. So we've got f of x equals, alright, I always just start on the left of the line just because I like to do the left one and the right one. Sometimes they switch it and it doesn't matter. But to the left of the line, the slope is just 0, but where is it located? Negative 3. So that would be a negative 3 on that one. Alright, so on this one right here, I'm going to start by figuring out the slope because it's always slope and then x and then whatever the y-intercept is. So I'm going up 1 and over 1. So 1x, or just x. And then where would be the y-intercept if it had 1? 1. So plus 1. Alright, I know the restrictions are going to be an x and a 0 because 0 is the place it changes. Alright, the one that's the left is the less, is the 3 one. And so this one's greater because it's on the right of where it changes. It's equal at the negative 3 because it's a closed circle, so there'll be an equal right there. Alright, so on 3, the place it changes is at 1. So that means 1 is going to be like the less than or the greater than at the end. Okay, let's look at this graph. So it's going, for the slope, it's up 1 and over 1. Okay, so still 1x, and then the y-intercept's 1, so we've got 1x plus 1, or just x plus 1. Okay, on this one. So the slope, we're still going up 1 and over 1, but if you'll notice, the slope's going down, so it's a negative. So that's negative x, and then for the y-intercept, just continue going with it and see where it crosses the x-axis if it would continue. So it continues on to where the y-intercept would be 0. So like plus 0. Alright, so we know that the place it changes is at 1. So we're going to have an x and a 1, either a greater or a less. Okay, so 1 is the place, and this is the left side, so it's the less side, and that's the x plus 1, and this is the greater side. There's an equal on this one, which is that first one. And really there should be arrows here instead of dots for the problems we're looking at, so I just want to make sure we put that on there. That was a little bit confusing, but anyway. Don't forget about the slope though, because it's really easy just to put an X there, but notice the fact that it's going down, so that would be a negative. Okay, let's look at 4. So the place it changes is there at 0. And then we've got 2 lines here. So let's look at this one. So I'm going up 2 and over 1. Up 2. How did I do that right? Up 2 and over 1. There we go. Up 2 over 1. Is it 2? Negative 2, because we got the slopes coming down. So negative 2x. It would cross the x-axis at 1, even though there's a hole. It still would cross it, so it's a plus 1. Okay, this one is up 1 and over 1. So 1x crossing at negative 1. 0 is the place that it changes. This is the left side. And not equal because it's open. This one is the greater side and equal because it's closed. Alright, so this one has 3 parts. So there's 3 equations we're looking for. Okay. This is just the standard y equals x squared equation because it's a parabola. And so it's y equals x squared for the first part. The second part is just at 3. So I know that's going to be a 3 there. And then the third part, I've got to think about that one a little bit. It looks like we're going up 1 and over 1. So that's still the slope of 1. But I don't know where it's going to cross the x-axis, so I'm going to keep going with it and see. Looks like it's going to cross the x-axis at 0. So this is 1x plus 0. I guess I didn't have to write the 0. I could leave it as x. Okay, now let's think about our restrictions. There's 2 places it changes, and that's what makes this one a little weird. Like it changes at 1 and also changes at 2. Okay? So talking about the parabola, it goes all the way until I get to 1 where it changes. So I know the parabola is going to have an x and a 1. We'll talk about that middle part in a minute. Let's talk about the last part. For the last part, it starts at 2 where it changes. So that last one's going to have an x and a 2. Alright, the x and the 1, it's to the left of 1, so it would be less than 1. It also includes it because of that closed circle. This one is to the right of 2, so I know that's greater than 2. And it's an open circle, so not equal to. Here's the interesting part, the part in the middle. It doesn't keep going both ways. It starts here and goes here. So we're going to write this one kind of the way we've been writing the absolute values that are between 2 numbers. So we're going to write 1 is less than x is less than 2. Because it's between 1 and 2. It starts at 1 and goes to 2. And it is closed on the 2 because there's a closed circle right there. Alright, so when we write the equation here, this is just going to be a 1. And this one, like the parabola, is normally up here at x squared, but it's moved down 3, so this would be x squared minus 3. Alright, 1 is the place, negative 1, sorry, is the place it changes. And this part's to the left. So less than negative 1 will be that first part. Greater than negative 1 would be the second part. And wherever the equals is based on whatever that solid dot is, and it's included on that one. So there's the answer on that one. So this time, because we're going to graph it, I am going to really draw where that changes first. So like it changes at 1. So I'm going to draw a line at 1. This 1, or this line right here, is not really part of the graph. But I think it helps you to determine how to draw the graph because you know that's the place that it changes. Now, sometimes it's going to be helpful for you to draw it in pencil and then erase the part that's not included. Okay? I'll show you that. It won't matter on this one, I don't think so much, but if you have some lines like on the next one we're going to do, it might be important to draw it in pencil and then erase part of it to make it work. On this one, it's not too bad though because we just have 2 numbers. And we know that whenever there's numbers, just one number, the graph's going to be across like this. And so I don't have to worry about the slope and anything like that. I know it's just going to be across. So on this first one, how it has 2 and it says x is less than 1, I know that I'm going to go up to 2 on the left side of 1, and I'm going to draw a line. Now, I do need to connect it to that line, but how am I going to connect it to the line? Open circle, because it doesn't have an equals and because it says less. Okay, the next one says -5. So I'm going to come down to -5. I'm not going to start on the y-axis to draw it, though. I'm going to start it on the place that it changes, because that's the first point that would be included. It's an equals, and so it's a closed circle, and then I draw my -5. Again, that up and down line's really not part of the graph, but I think it's important because it helps me see that I have the two things on either side of that line. Okay? Let's look at another one. We're going to skip 8 a second. Let's look at 9. That way you can see what it looks like to have two lines drawn. So, okay, so on this one it tells me that -2 is our place where it's going to change. So I know I'm going to have one line on this side and one line on this side. Okay? And this is one where I think the pencil is important, especially for the less than part of -2. So I'm going to use a pencil first, and I'm going to draw x plus 5. So where do I start if I'm going to draw x plus 5? The y-intercept, and then I do the slope. So I go to 5 and put a point, and then I'm going to go up 1 and over 1, up 1 and over 1. We've got a problem here. This says it's x plus 5 for less than -2. I'm on the right side. I'm on the wrong side. I gotta be over here. So instead of keep going up, I need to come down instead. And I need to keep going until I get on the other side of this, which means I'm going to erase all this part on the right side. Now, because it says less and not equals, that means that that place where it intersects there is going to be an open circle. And then I just connect the points. So whenever you draw this, I do want to see kind of some points there. I don't want to just see some line on the other side of -2. I want to see where some of your points are. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one says 2x plus 3. So on this one, I'm going to come up to 3 and start at 3. You always start at the y-intercept. The slope is 2. So I'm going to go up 2 and over 1. Up 2 and over 1. And that's great. That'll work. But I need to start it on this orange line that we went to. So I need to come back down to 2 over 1. Down to 2 over 1. That way I've got it started on the line, because both pieces should start on that line where it changes. It's equal to on that one, so equals, and then there's my graph. And see, that one's going up a little faster than that one. That one makes sense because this one has a slope of 1 and this one has a slope of 2. Okay, so on this one right here, so I can tell that 0 is the place it's going to change. And if I think about the graph here, so it starts off with 2x, and it's less than 0. So I'm going to start at 0 because that's like 2x plus 0. 0 would be the y-intercept. And then the slope is 2, so up 2 and over 1. And that's good, but that's the wrong side because it needs to be on the left side. So I need to go down 2 and over 1 to figure out what it would be on this side. I'm going to get rid of these points because I only want that one side of it. And so that's what we have there. It's an open circle because of the less. On the right side, it says 3, so I'm going to go up to 3. It has an equals there, so I know it's included, and then I just draw a line at 3 going over. Alright, on number 10. So 1 is the place where that one changes. Alright, and it says 2x plus 1. So let's just figure that out. We're going to go up 1 and put a point. Up 2 over 1. Oh, that's nice. It's already landing on my line. That's good. I don't want to go past the line, though, because, oh, yes, I do. That's the greater than part where they switched it for me. So I need to go past that line. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. There's my line, but the part I need is the greater side, so I don't want this side. It's equal to, so I'm going to include it and then just draw my line. Alright, and then the next one says x plus 3, so I go up to 3. Slopes 1, so up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. I can keep going that way, but honestly I need to come down this way a little bit more because I know it's on the less side. Alright. Not equal to, so there'll be an open circle, and then we just come back this way. Alright, so both 11 and 12 have an absolute value, and the graph of an absolute value is a V. Okay, so we know that for that one and for that one, we're going to be making V's. Okay, we still might have to erase some things to make it work, but we'll figure it out. So the first one says greater or less than 0. So I know that 0 is my place where I'm including that. I know that first one says absolute value of x, and I know the absolute value of x starts at 0, and it just goes up 1 and over 1 on both sides. So there's my V. But I don't want that whole V, because I only want the part that's less than 0. Which means I only want this side, I don't want that side. So really, that almost looked just like a line. And why it had to be described as an absolute value, I don't know, but it really just needed to be a line. Okay, and then the next part is the greater than or equal to 0. It says to start it at -1 and go up 1 and over 1. All of that is on the correct side, so we're good to just draw it. And that would be down at 1 with a closed circle and then coming up. Alright, on the next one. So 1 is the place it changes. And our first one says absolute value of x minus 2. Remember that absolute value of x is a V. The minus 2 part means that it moves it right because it's inside the absolute value. So we're going to go right 2, and then this would be like our line. Our absolute value is going to kind of look like that. But it says I only want to draw it for x is less than 1. So really I'm only looking at the part here where it touches 1 and then goes that way. Which means this other part of the absolute value you can get rid of. So it's like you just draw the graph and then erase the part that doesn't work. Alright, the next one says 5. So just go up to 5, close circle at 1, and then 5 is an easy one to draw, which is really nice.